Right before we jump into this video, if you'd like me to send you this free guide to capturing motion in low light situations, just look for this orange box over on my website, put your name, email address in it, hit send it, and I will send you that guide for free. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and this is the second development update that Canon has given us for the Canon EOS R3. Yes, it's still not official and they haven't given us all the information, but I've got some notes on this highlighted paper. And if you're wondering, Jared, why don't you just get highlight paper? Because it doesn't exist, all right? I highlight everything, it's easier for me to read. All right, so it's been about 2 months since they last gave us a development announcement. And what I would like you to do right now is subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, because it lets us know that you care and you can be notified when new videos go live. And also, give it a thumbs up just because I asked for it. Please give us a thumbs up. Now, let's do a quick recap of what we know about the EOS R3 currently. This is not the flagship camera. It is between the R5 and the 1DX Mark III, which means there's going to be an R1 at some point. At least that's what Canon says. Now, this is the first Canon to have a full frame stacked BSI sensor. Stacked is very similar to what Sony has with the A1 as well as the A9 and the A9 II. It's capable of shooting 30 frames per second with the electronic shutter with full AF. It has improved dual pixel AF. I think it's going to go to quad pixel AF. I think they're going to tell us about that. It has eye control, which is something totally, well, kind of not new, but newly designed for this. And it has a built-in grip, which makes it very similar to a 1DX Mark III. This is the 1DX Mark III right here, and I expect it to be slightly smaller than that. But here is the new stuff that they gave us. This is a photo of the back of the camera. We didn't have that before. And what's interesting is you see that little switch up top. It's like between the right and the viewfinder. That's where you can now switch between video and stills. That's not there on the R5, but doesn't it look like it's lit up? Yeah, it looks like that might blink when you are shooting video, which is pretty cool. It still has a similar button layout to the 1DX Mark III, so it's very similar to the Pro camera that's sitting right here on my desk. But what is not similar is it has a vari-angle touchscreen, which I think is the first for a Canon Pro body like this with an integrated grip to have a vari-angle touchscreen. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of vari-angle touchscreens for still shooting. I know a lot of people like it when it comes to shooting video because you can do vari-angles, but is this going to be a video-centric camera or is this going to be a still-centric camera? Or are you going to go all Peter McKinnon on it and use it to vlog with?
How do you... This is his vlogging camera. It's not even a joke.
And it worked out for him because look at his channel now. He's got like 5 million subscribers, more than I do. Well, 4 million, but still, whatever. I'm not a big fan of vari-angle tilt screens. I rather just have it tilt down, because if you hold it over your head, it's much easier to get a straight line. If you hold it down low, it's much easier to get a straight line. If you flip it out to the side, it's much harder for me to get my line straight, and I think it would be harder for everybody else. Now, there's a giant eye cup. I say giant eye cup and not giant EVF because we don't know if it's a giant EVF. It looks like a massive eye cup with a teeny tiny EVF. Now, I don't think it's going to be teeny tiny EVF, but is it going to be a big, vibrant, and bright EVF? Is it going to match what Sony A1 does? Because that EVF is like looking through a window. It is so damn good. They added the smart controller to the back. That's what they added to the 1DX Mark III, which is fantastic for moving focusing points super fast if you need to do it fast. But they also have a joystick on the back. So not only do you have a joystick, but you also have that multi-function controller, which I don't even think is necessary because the AF inside of these mirrorless cameras is so good that I can rely on it for face detect, head detect, IAF, animal IAF, and I don't really have to move those focusing points quickly. Now, it is nice to be able to move it quickly if you get out of those modes and you're not photographing people. It is nice to have it. I do like the sensor that's on the back of this 1DX Mark III. They've added a new digital hot shoe up top, which is very similar to what Sony has done with the last bunch of cameras that they have, where you can get different accessories that are powered through the hot shoe or can pass audio through the hot shoe, which is pretty cool, but we'll see what type of accessories Canon comes out with to allow you to do that. Could you use the Sony microphones to do it? Probably not. I don't think that would be possible at all. They've added rear control wheels, which is interesting. Look, you have no rear control dial here, which means when you're vertical, you have no rear control dial here, but they've gone ahead and added it up top and when you shoot vertical. That's a big deal, especially for people that are used to shooting with Sony or used to shooting with Nikon. You always put your thumb back here to control the shutter speed, and yeah, it's not there on this camera, the 1DX Mark III, but it's there on the R5, which is a nice feature to have, and it's gonna be here on this R3. Let me jump in here real quick to remind you that I'm giving away a camera and lenses valued up to $4,999 to one of you out there in the Super Huger Mega Camera giveaway for 2021. That's right, it's absolutely free to enter. Head on over to bit.ly/megafro2021 for full contest rules, but also know if you do purchase Fro Pack 1, 2, or 3 or already own them, you will score extra entries automatically. You do not need to make a purchase in order to win, but you will get extra entries if you do get those presets. Now, let's get back to the video. All right, notes on the back. There is no more bottom LCD, which you have, I'll just show you right here, bottom LCD. On the bottom, you no longer have that. Why? Because you don't need it. Everything's right in front of your face. You have Ibis up to 8 stops when you pair it with RF lenses that have IS. 8 stops of Ibis is incredible. It will do 30 frames per second with RAW. I guess we didn't know that before, but they didn't give us any more information beyond that. Is it compressed RAW? Is it uncompressed RAW? Is it lossless RAW? Is it 12-bit? Is it 14-bit? We don't know. We also don't know what size sensor is in this camera. We'll talk more about that in just a second. But they did add car plus bike tracking, which is great because look at this picture of me. That's me standing with my bike in the winter when it was really cold. But I look really good, so you could track me. I think the cameras could track without the bike. I don't know why they even added that. Now, there are dual card slots, which is, of course, expected with any camera these days. But the problem is, one is a CF Express slot, and the other is an SD slot. We don't know if it's CF Express A or is it CF Express B. I would think that it's the bigger card. Jared, you got a card right here? Well, this is an XQD, but this is the shape of it. So I believe they're still gonna do this because that's what they've done in the R5, but why don't we put 2 of those into the camera? You can't tell me that the camera, in order to keep it small, we only put in 1 of those cards and 1 SD. The reason I say this is a problem for me is when you're shooting 30 frames a second or the 20 frames per second, or you're even shooting 15 frames a second, you are going to outrun that SD card quicker than you can the CF Express cards. That's just something that it's just a fact for how fast those CF Express cards write. I've seen this in the Sony A1. If I have their CF Express card in there and I have an SD card in there, it slows down my writing speed when I'm shooting redundant. Now, if you don't shoot redundant, it's not going to be a big deal, but this is something that it's like put 2 of the same cards in there. It's not that big of a deal. That is a better option for having dual redundancy when you are shooting. Now, let's get to the video features. We've got oversampled 4K. They did not give us frame rate. We don't know what the frame rate is going to be. We've got C-Log, we've got internal RAW, we've got full AF, and 0 mention of 8K. Is it going to be like the R6 or is it going to be like the R5? Which oversampling will it be? Will it have the 4K HQ or will it be from like 5K down to 4K, or it will be like 5.4K down to 4K? We're not sure because they haven't told us yet, which means we don't know what size sensor is in this camera. We don't know the resolution, but what we do know is it will focus down to -7 EV when you're in low light situations. That's pretty good because when you're in low light situations, your AF kind of isn't that great all the time, and this is just getting better and better. Copying what the Sony A1 does is that with the speed light, you will be able to use the electronic shutter. Now, it's going to use the LPE19 battery, which is the same one that's in the 1DX Mark III. I'm assuming it's going to chew up more power, but also it's a bigger battery, so you will get more shots and more video out of it. You also have wired LAN and Ethernet ports. We don't know everything just yet. They're still holding a bunch back, like the sensor size. Is it going to be 21 megapixels? Is it going to be 24 megapixels? Is it going to be 50? I'm just going to go out here and say, I think it's going to be 21 to 24. I'm just saying that because what room is there for the R1 to come out if this one's 50 megapixels? I think this is going to be between 21, which is what you have in the 1DX Mark III, and it's going to be between 21 and 24 to give you those 30 frames per second, which is going to make a lot of people happy, but I really like the A1 at those 50 megapixel files are absolutely fantastic, and it is great. And they also need to leave room for whatever the R1's going to be, which I'll just throw out 75 megapixels, but with the option to shoot at 50 quicker. I don't know, maybe that's what they're going to come out with. But they haven't said anything about the R1 other than this R3 is not the flagship. It is not your baby. It's like going on Maury Povich and it's like, it's not an R1. You are not the father. What's the price going to be? We don't know. The rumor sites are saying $59.99 to undercut the A1, but this, sir, and madame and others, this is not an A1. At least we don't think it's going to be an A1 at this point. The A1 is absolutely a fantastic camera. Do I think that Canon can compete and overtake Sony at some point? The answer is absolutely yes. They've done a fantastic job with their system, but I don't think the R3 is going to be an A1 killer. I think it's going to be a 1DX Mark III killer. At least it should be because it's a mirrorless camera, but that's what I have to say about it. What do you think the R3 is going to cost? What do you think the R3 is going to have in terms of resolution? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Jared, Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.